Hello everyone, this is Frank DiMora with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. This is a documentary on Bible prophecy and current events that you can download for free. It's an updated book, version of the book, and it's updated as December 1st, 2010. And believe me, there's more information in this book to show you that Jesus Christ is in fact the true Messiah, and every word in prophecy is coming to pass. And I'll show you that with the proof and the documentations from the news around the world. And what I'm going to be doing right now is cover some of the prophecies that are in our face almost every day. If you go into the scriptures and you read what Paul wrote, and you have to remember everything that Paul wrote was under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Paul in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 3 told us in the last days, more or less, you'll see it, that when they shall be calling for peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them as a travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So we know that in the last days, Israel would be calling for the peace and safety. And obviously, if you've been watching the news, almost every single day, anywhere around the world, you will see news about Jerusalem, Israel, and the Palestinian quest for this peace process that is currently stalled. And if you understand what Paul told us, the second half of 1 Thessalonians 5:3 is about to be fulfilled, and that is the side where it says sudden destruction. Now we know, and I've been telling people and warning people, trying to prepare them for what's going to happen. The sudden destruction is going to be a war that's going to be played out between the nations listed, I believe, in Psalm 83. Now in Psalm 83, it is very clear because it tells you exactly who's going to attack Israel. And it also says in Psalm 83 why. It says they're going to be going down there to wipe Israel off so that the nation isn't in remembrance anymore. So they're going to try to wipe them off the face of the map, just like Ahmadinejad from Iran has been proclaiming that he is going to do. Here's an article. Abbas says no talks without East Jerusalem building freeze. Now this becomes very, very important, as you see there. And it's important because in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3, the prophet Zechariah, under the inspiration of God, told him that in the last days Jerusalem would be a burdensome stone for all the nations. And anybody that burned themselves with it would be cut into pieces. Well, Jerusalem, the first and the second temple, Jewish temple, is in East Jerusalem on the Temple Mount. And this is where the Islamic Dome of the Rock is. This is where Muhammad was supposed to have entered into heaven, be carried away in a horse into heaven. And East Jerusalem has become the focal point, the major problem, one of the major problems in the Middle East peace talks, along with the borders of the 1967 borders. The Palestinians and the Arabs and the Islamic nations are pressing Israel to give up East Jerusalem, and this is where God's holy city is. This is where the temple is, or was. It used to stand. And this is where the third temple is going to stand. And so we see Zechariah's prophecy coming to pass because they are, all the nations, including the United States, are burning themselves over this city, East Jerusalem. It's exactly like Zechariah said it would be. And this talks about the building freeze. Well, the building freeze is important because the Palestinians are saying that the land that their Israelis are building on is land that should be owned by the Palestinians that was taken away from the Palestinians in the 1967 war. Here is another article. The Palestinians, Israel has chosen West Bank settlements over peace. In other words, the reason why I'm showing you these articles is because the peace process is going to die off. And I've been warning people for years that when the Arabs understand that there's no more hope to get East Jerusalem by peace, they're going to assault Israel to try to take that capital and make it their own capital again, to wipe Israel out, to regain it again. Now, we do see the shades of Psalm 83 coming into play, because the nations involved in Psalm 83 are those same nations now that are in the news warning that they're going to attack Israel. Let me give you an example. Here's when Israeli troops opened fire on Lebanon. You see it right there. If you're watching this on YouTube, obviously, just click the freeze it and you'll see the headline there. And you can go to Google and Google the headline here. It says the machine gun fire came from Israel positions near Shabira farms on the border between Lebanon and Syria and occupied Palestinian land on Wednesday, the DPA reported. So there's fire, skirmishes, conflicts between Lebanon and Israel. And why is this important? Because Psalm 83 tells us Lebanon is going to be one of those nations who are going to attack Israel. And believe me, the birth pangs are well underway for this major conflict that's on its way. Here's another one. Israel East Jerusalem policy threatens peace. This is coming from the EU. Now, the European Union has, they're unsatisfied with America because President Barack Obama is so powerless and so weak that he cannot get the Palestinians and the Israelis to come to some agreement. And they know it, so that they're stepping in because they know that the peace process is about ready to die. Israel's policies in occupied East Jerusalem, again, here we go with that East Jerusalem, remember Zechariah 12:3, are harming the prospect of the Palestinians having their future capital there, which seriously endangers a two-state solution, the EU said on Tuesday. So the United States, the European Union, the United Nations, they all are aware that conflict is coming soon, and they're all pointing to the problem, East Jerusalem, Zechariah 12:3. Here's another one, Syria's support of the Hezbollah. Now the Hezbollah, again, mentioned in Psalm 83, and when you go into my site, you'll see a list of all the nations that are, I put up several boxes there that list every single one of the nations that are going to be attacking Israel, and the Hezbollah is included in that. Israel's support of Hezbollah could provoke an Israeli attack. It says Syria's fresh interference in Lebanon. Syria is also mentioned in there, in that attack in Lebanon, and increasingly sophisticated weapon shipments to the Hezbollah have alarmed American officials and prompted Israel's military to consider a strike against Syrian's weapons depot that supplies the Lebanese militia group. This is important because Syria is one of the nations that are going to be coming against Israel in the last days in the Psalm 83 war. Syria is also mentioned in Isaiah 17:1 and Jeremiah chapter 49 verses 24 through 27 as being destroyed, set on fire. They are going to be obliterated. They're going to be wiped out, left as a ruinous heap, as it says in Isaiah 17:1. And so we're seeing the prelude to this war that is coming. It's the labor pains before the war takes place. Here's another one. A resurgent Syria alarms U.S. and Israel. Syria's fresh interference in Lebanon. Again, talking about shipments going into the Hezbollah. Here's another report ready. The Hezbollah ready for war with Israel. These are all the signs that Christ shows us. And then again, the Syrian nuke facility identified by satellite. Now Israel's got to worry about the nuclear arms in Syria, and they're going to go in and take them out if that's the case, just like they did with the Syrians before. War is coming. All these signs are indications that that war is going to be fought very, very soon.